The big news is that Scherzer, who's part of the union, basically like the top brass of player representatives, dropped a little bomb and said, hey, you're not going to break us. We have a backbone, and we're not even going to acknowledge that shitty deal that you just offered until we're not going to do that until you open the books. I'm trying to find the actual. Everyone in the history of baseball Twitter quote tweeted it yesterday. After discussing the latest developments with the rest of the players, there's no reason to engage with MLB in any further compensation reductions. We have previously negotiated a pay cut in the version of the prorated salaries, and there's no justification to accept a second pay cut based on the current information the union has received. I'm glad to hear other players voicing the same viewpoint and believe MLB's economic strategy would completely change if all documentation were to become public information. So, one, it's again a non-starter. We're going to act like you didn't even send that. We're not going to acknowledge it at all. Two, if you want to prove that we need to if you want us to believe we need to take a pay cut, open your books and show them to us. Because a lot of these teams, you've been profitable, incredibly profitable for the last 5 years. We didn't see any surplus of money coming our way. We didn't see any revenue split there. So why, when you lose money, now it's our hit, but when you gain money, it's not our hit. Our salaries haven't even been increasing. Fair. And Jake, I know this is scary, and we all were like, oh shit. I am proud of the union for galvanizing and having a backbone, because clearly, and we talked all about this on Talking Baseball, clearly that offer was a union busting offer. Like the MLB only did that, and I did this in full on Talking Baseball. They only did that to try and break up the union. There was no point in them providing a sliding scale and saying richer players are going to get less and poorer players, are going to get more. The only reason they would ever do that is to play games and try to union bust. So I'm so happy that the union is saying, okay, we're not even going to look at that because you're not going to break us with it. And right after this Scherzer tweet, we do get the news that the union did make their own proposal, which then that was like, okay, thank God. Because I thought if they were just going to sit back and keep the ball in MLB's court and say, we're ready for your next one, I'd be like, come on, guys. That's bad. But the fact that they counter-proposed their own, we still got movement.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. Amongst all fear of not playing baseball and the sadness that would bring to my soul, it was good to see the players' union come back with that. Because let's be honest, you and I are new to this. As adult fans that are entrenched in the game, we haven't seen a labor negotiation like this or cared about a labor negotiation like this. So we kind of didn't know the next step. Like I was wondering if the players were going to just almost say no and be like 81 games, prorated salary, like that is the offer. Like I didn't know if that was going to be the game. But Jim, as you'll know on Talking Baseball, I laid out the 3-option strategy, and it seems very clear we're in option 1 that these are just nasty fucking negotiations. Mm-hmm. And the players coming back and saying, actually, let's play 100+ games. Right after the owners came out with the report saying we're going to lose X amount of dollars per game played. I mean, that's as the kids would have said a couple years ago, that's like savage counter proposal, which again, there's excitement in like a hardcore negotiation. You understand how some people get their rocks off on that. The part that's horrifying is that the sides are miles apart. And in theory, this is supposed to be done in the next 4 days, and we've gotten this far in 2 months. So that's the part that I don't get, Jim, because I feel like anytime labor negotiations get discussed, there has always been a little bit of like which side won. And, at the time, you're guessing a little bit and you're looking at different things. With the most recent one, it's kind of been like, the players lost because they put in that kind of fake salary cap, the luxury tax, and teams didn't abide by it. And there's some player pay stuff that came out kind of fishy. And, I feel like when we've done this in the past, like 1994, 1995, there's books written about it and stuff. And you can find out from knowledgeable old guys in baseball that lived through it. Old guys and gals, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could get some of the stories on it. But, dude, this is the age of social media. And all of this has been laid out in front of fans that wanted the information. Like, if you're a baseball fan that's been tracking this, the owners came out and said, hey, why don't you guys play for a quarter of the pay? And now with this new players offer, it's the players are saying, no, pay us more. Let's play more. That if this does get solved, which a lot of people are still highly optimistic about, like the winners and losers of this deal are going to be very well known. And I don't know if either side is ready to deal with that.
You mean like individual winners and losers, or just the union versus the
just like if this ends, people will be saying the players held out and won or the owners lost. And like you and I have kind of been leaning, it feels like, and the Scherzer point you mentioned in there about opening the books feels like something the players have found and they know they can hammer home. Because we're also talking about the long game here with the next CBA. The owners are not going to open their books.
If they do, they just open a fugazi version of their books. They'd need like an auditor there to, it would be a whole to do.
Right. And that's where I think they've already, quote unquote, opened their books, but they've only released certain information. Mm-hmm. If they fully open their books of how they made money for the next CBA, that would give the players the most ammunition you can possibly have. So again, it just feels like the owners and like BBD hinted to in his most recent tweet, they've been making their money throughout the years. This would be the year that they'd have to bite the bullet. And I just don't know enough about the situation to know if that's going to happen. Because, I mean, the players are doubling down, which, like you said, was cool to see. It's also a little scary.
Yeah, it's very scary. But I thought I was like, oh, no baseball. Like Scherzer just said, no baseball. If the union wasn't going to send a proposal of their own, which, last episode on Talking Baseball, we said like, hey, union, like you make a proposal. Quit letting them play these games, and you play a fucking game. Get in the game. So they did, and I like the players' strategy. They're saying, hey, if you're gonna make less money because there's less games, or you're gonna make money because there's less games and no fans, fucking give it 20 more games per team. Which is a lot of games. No one can do the math. 20 times 15.
Nobody can do that.
That's impossible. So, and they'll probably come down, and then it's so interesting that Trev's little theory was that the owners actually don't want to play a lot of games. They want to play the least amount of games. So it's interesting. I'm happy that the union made a proposal themselves, and then we'll go from here. We'll see.
And I think the other thing, and this is kind of opening the curtain a little bit, Jim, is that we try to do as neutral as a baseball podcast we can. I mean, we get blinded with fandom and we'll tweet out like Gleyber Torres is the best player in the league. And that's because he's on the Yankees and we like watching him play. But with this, we've tried to be, kind of fair about it. And we've kind of been sitting here like, I don't know, man. Like, it seems like this is on the owners, and that if I was a player and I was supposed to make $10 million, and now you're telling me I'm going to make $2 million, and I have to risk like being out there with coronavirus and shit like that. Like, I was kind of siding with the players. Like, I was getting both sides of the argument, or at least the best I thought. And the players coming back with this counteroffer kind of is backing our thoughts a little bit. And again, we're new to this, so we're gathering our thoughts like everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to be fair, and there's times where like, I understand that I've been saying the owners, if they're going to take a hit every game, if it is $200K lost every time they open their doors without fans, then fuck, why would you do that? But there's franchise value. The Manfred and the MLB just put a bad taste in my mouth the way their first two offers were, and how they were clearly calculated to start a fight or divide ranks amongst the opponent, then finding a middle ground. And just kind of like proposals in bad faith, leaking to the media in bad faith. And that's where I've been a little kind of like, ugh, I was pulling for you a little bit and been telling people how I think, you got to make money. You're not going to just take a loss. But the way, especially the sliding pay scale, when there's no reason to tell the union how it would get divvied up. So whatever.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And we have a player jumping on Talking Baseball today for an emergency pod, because players they just want to get stuff off their chest. So look out for that.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for that. And just sucks like negotiations like have to go that way, whether it's the one guy that pisses you off in your fantasy league or whatever it is. Like, let's cut through the you trying to rip me off deal. And if you actually want to make something work, let's put something in the ballpark that makes sense. You have logic. So I don't know. Do you think, I'd say the one thing that, I don't know. Do you think this is going to kick into gear for June 1st? Do you think, like they're going to push this out till like June 10th, the actual kind of fake spring training date? Do you think and I guess that's what Trevor Plouffe was just saying, our guy, that maybe all those dates are becoming arbitrary because the owners want to play less games.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I mean, I know this. They can snap their fingers and get guys at camp in 3 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like that part's going to take forever. They're ready. Players, when Trev said the June 10th date a month ago, that was because teams were telling their players, get ready, June 10th. Make sure you're in condition. So we'll see. I don't know.
And if you're the Pirates front office and you're listening, Cole Tucker will be there on the 11th if you guys figure things out.
And just understand that.
Just get that part of it.